Hello, sports ballers, and welcome to your one-stop shop for all things Tennessee Pro Sports. This is Sportsballin. I'm Dylan Simmons, joined alongside my main men, Connor Smith and Jace Vincent. It's Thanksgiving week, boys, and how are we feeling?
Feeling absolutely great. Getting ready for the holidays, getting ready for some turkey.
Gobble, gobble.
Gobble, gobble, indeed. Well, to start us off tonight, the SEC did its best imitation of the Dallas Cowboys and completely fell apart this past weekend. Ole Miss lost a heartbreaker to the Florida Gators. Texas A&M lost in 4 overtimes against Auburn. And Connor's Alabama Crimson Tide were Soonered by Oklahoma. Now, Connor, I think I already know your answer, but what was the most disappointing loss in your eyes?
I mean, I think definitely Alabama. You could make a case for Ole Miss because if they just won out, they'd be in the playoffs.
Right.
But Alabama had done the hard work. They beat LSU, they beat Georgia, took care of business early in the season. If they just didn't mess up these next 2 games, you're in there and you got a chance at the top 2 seed.
You're in the playoff. Instead,
Jalen Milroe decided to do his best Nathan Peterman impression and made me go on the verge of burying his jersey. So
wow. Drastic.
Oklahoma, the wagon did not tip over, and they got to bowl eligibility. And for Ole Miss, on the other hand, it was a Lane Kiffin performance. That's why he did not get the Florida job right there. And Billy Napier's back in Gainesville for another year right there. And it was just utter chaos in the SEC all around this past weekend.
It was utter chaos, like you mentioned. Now, have you guys ever seen the movie Twisters? Because that's kind of what we saw. It was just chaos, spinning around, trying to figure out what we're doing here. That was the idea with this weekend. What in the world was wrong with Alabama? You said Nathan Peterman. I'll say Jamarcus Russell for Jalen Milroe. He had 3 interceptions, a pick 6, should have had 2. He only managed 7 rushing yards. Are you kidding me? Isn't that one of his
15 carries?
That's one of his main strengths as a quarterback, and he had nothing on this one. To me, this game showed that if you take away number 4's running ability, this team's a shell of themselves. They become a turtle. They go into their shell, try to ride out the storm, and they cannot. And Ole Miss, they cannot get out of their own way. I mean, you lose games. You can beat Georgia, right? You can beat South Carolina. But you lose games to Florida and LSU and Kentucky at home, of all teams. What are you doing? Ole Miss and Alabama completely lost their chance, and also Texas A&M. I mean, you've got the SEC championship game possibly in your future, and you lose to Auburn on the road in 4 overtimes. I mean, what is going on with the SEC right now? We thought they were going to get 4 or 5 teams in, and all of a sudden, they're going to be lucky to get 3 teams in.
Yeah.
Theoretically, A&M, the SEC championship's still there. They got to take care of business against Texas this weekend, but makes it a lot harder losing in quadruple overtimes to Auburn.
Well, not only that they lost in quadruple overtime, but the fact that Marcel Reed threw about as grave a pass as you could, and his quarterback or his receiver just washed his hands with the football.
Butterfingers. Butterfingers. Now, looking at the remaining games for the SEC and the remaining contenders, is Texas like the only surefire one? Like, let's say Georgia or Tennessee lose their last game of the regular season. Is Texas the only one we can say, all right, they're in for sure?
See, the thing is, I still don't think you can leave out the SEC runner-up.
Sure.
Even if they have 3 losses, well, in that case.
What if Georgia has 4 losses, though?
Then I think you do have.
Oh, yeah, you're out of there.
Yeah.
For sure.
But then even Texas, I don't think Tennessee's losing to Vandy. I don't think Georgia's losing to Georgia Tech. I mean, and the thing for Texas you could say is if they lose this weekend to A&M, they could be out. That'd be the 2 best teams they played, and they would have lost both times.
Yep.
That's a good argument right there to create even more chaos within the SEC.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue with that. The SEC is just kind of on fire right now, and somebody's got to put out the fire in a hurry or something's going to go wrong. Now, I know you're going to get into this a little more later, Connor, but do you think there's a chance that an SEC 3-loss team can make it in?
I think so, honestly. I mean, you look at the projections of the brackets. Of course, it matters about what comes out tomorrow night, but if Bama and SC are outside looking in and a couple upsets happen, who knows?
I have my own opinions on a 3-loss SEC team getting in, but we'll talk more about it later. For now, guys, Memphis, well, they left the Bulls seeing red in Saturday in Chicago. Unlike CM Punk in 2023, there was no comeback for the Bulls in the Windy City, as Memphis dominated the first and third quarters on their way to a 141-132 win. The Grizz now sit at 10-7 overall and 7th in the Western Conference. Jace, what did you like about Memphis in this one?
I liked the ability for multiple players to get into double-figure scoring. All 5 starters got into double figures. Scottie Pippen Jr. got a 30-burger there. And even seeing players, an argument can be made here to be in the Rookie of the Year conversation for Jalen Wells.
Yeah.
And all the people are talking about, a lot of the talk is Dalton Connect and really getting in there as well as, I'm blanking.
Zach Edey?
No, not Zach Edey. I'm blanking on the guy's name, but we'll get back to that later. Jalen Wells is making a good argument to be in the in the conversation. I was talking about Jared McCain. They still don't know his
McCain, yes.
But Jalen Wells is making a great argument. He goes for 26 last night. Bane goes for 13. And they just got into a all-out berserk fest of offense there. In 142 to 131, and Memphis found a way to win.
They did, and what I'm going to say this was about the three main guys in this game. Scottie Pippen Jr., Jalen Wells, and JJJ, Jaren Jackson Jr. They combined for 79 points in this game. That is unreal. That's Brooklyn Nets trio numbers like James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant. That's what we saw from those three players. This is as good as the offense has looked all season long, the most points they've put up in any game this season. Now, conversely, they needed it because they gave up 132 points, and you can't have that happen against the Chicago Bulls. But, hey, the point still stands. It was a very impressive performance. One thing I like is that it seems like the Grizzlies have a bunch of options as far as scoring is concerned. It's usually JJJ and a variety of other players. Sometimes it's Santi Almada. Some nights it's Wells. Some nights it's going to be other players like Jalen Wells and Jaren Jackson Jr. and Scottie Pippen Jr. So you've got a lot of different options as far as who's going to be the primary performers, and I think that makes you an even stronger team.
Yeah, you're exactly right with that. I mean, I think that combined with the fact that they did this without Ja Morant.
Yeah.
I mean, usually when you lose a star player, you get worse, obviously.
Sure.
That's
Yeah.
how it should work. They've won back-to-back games. They put up 142 without him.
Right.
Guys like Scottie Pippen Jr. and Jalen Wells picked up the slack. And how about Scottie Pippen Jr., dude? 80% from the
Absolute
field.
dog.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, that guy is playing out of his mind right now, and really it feels like the Grizzlies, as far as consistency is concerned, are really rounding into form, and they could be dangerous, especially if that defense keeps playing the way they usually do. Combine that with that kind of offensive performance, it's going to be hard for anyone to stop them, Connor.
Oh, yeah.
So, Jace, I want to ask this before we move on with the Grizzlies. What is their ceiling? Are we talking potential semifinal, finals contenders with the Grizzlies, or are we to that point yet, or could we see them making a deep run?
If you get plays like you did right here with multiple players getting the figures and having players like Scottie Pippen, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Jalen Wells being able to go in and contribute and get 20 plus and even into 30 without Ja Morant, I think it's really great there. But then you add the pieces of Zach Edey and Ja Morant in there, then you can even go in and make a deep Western Conference push to contend with the Lakers and the Warriors and even going on and so on and so forth.
Right. It's going to be fun down the stretch, guys. Now, these Bears, they're on a Thanksgiving feast right now. Still to come, the Titans won a game, and the Predators reach new heights against the Jets. All that and more on the other side of this break.
Making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
Oh, man. I can't believe I'm missing this. Okay, Grandma. I see you.
Don't get stuck at home with the flu. A flu shot is the best way to prevent the flu and its potentially serious complications. It keeps you, your community, and loved ones protected. Don't get flu FOMO. Learn more at getmyflushot.org.
It's something about having that piece of paper. Some people think that's worth more than my skills.
I've run this place for 20 years, but I still need to prove that I'm more than what you see on paper.
You just gotta be so good they can't ignore you.
It's the way my mind works. I have a very mechanical brain.
Analytics and empathy. That's how I've gained clients.
I am more.
I'm more
than who I am on paper.
You know you don't have to wear your PT gear anymore, right?
It's comfortable.
So how's civilian life treating you?
It's fine.
When I got out, I didn't want to admit that there was anything wrong because I felt like a failure. And then I realized, like, there's nothing to be ashamed of. So I started talking to someone. Maybe you are fine, but if you're not, it's okay.
Thank you.
If you or a veteran you know needs support, don't wait. Reach out. Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Julie was always a voracious reader. She'd carry 2 novels on an airplane because she'd read one on a 3-4 hour ride. And at some point, I began to notice that she would read a page and couldn't remember what she had just read, and she'd have to go back and read it again.
I don't remember much these days after I read, but less does for me, and I love it.
Welcome back. Now, in the most shocking result since my ACT math scores, the Tennessee Titans not only won a game, but they also did it against the Houston Texans of all teams. Will Levis had a career day with 278 passing yards and 2 touchdowns, and was also helped by a 110-yard performance from Tony Pollard. The Tennessee defense also did their part by forcing 2 interceptions on C.J. Stroud. Connor, what did you think of this performance by Tennessee?
It's pretty much what we thought the Titans were going to be the entire season leading up, or the entire offseason leading to this season. Will Levis, outside of pick 6, looked really, really good.
Yeah.
The running game was strong. The defense did give up 30 points, or just, 27, but they made clutch plays. You mentioned the 2 interceptions, the safety at the very end of the game. This is what everyone expected the Tennessee Titans to be in 2024.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue with that one. Now, what really shocked me was just the consistency of Will Levis. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to admit this up front. I had a bunch of Titans-related jokes. I was even going to bring out a Captain Meme costume this week. I was fully prepared for this. But then I got a text from my brother, and he's like, dude, the Titans are winning. And I had to throw all those plans in the garbage. But you know what? When they got scored on 18 seconds into the game, I thought, it's wraps. So I stopped watching. So I got to give him credit for hanging in and sticking with it. Now, Captain Meme, he turned into Joe Montana in this one. We mentioned the 278 passing yards, but what really impressed me was his ability to throw the ball deep. If he can do that with consistency and avoid the turnover problems, this guy is going to be great. So it wasn't so much of this as it was this in that game.
Absolutely.
The dude was dialed in.
Absolutely, and he's played great over the course of the last couple of weeks. He outplayed C.J. Stroud, 278 passing yards, a couple of touchdowns, even with the pick 6. He played great. Getting a 32-27 win, Titans scoring 30 points.
Yeah.
Basically a modern-day miracle at that point right there, plus beating the Texans in a division rivalry.
It's literally a Thanksgiving miracle. And real quick for the Texans, how do you turn the 25th ranked offense in the country and make them the second coming of the 2007 Patriots? How in the world do you do that?
Well, also, how do you sack someone 8 times and still lose a game?
The Texans found a way. I mean, they found a way to lose. So congratulations, Texans, but also congrats, Titans. Now, the Preds, they've also got something to celebrate this Thanksgiving as they grounded the Winnipeg Jets. It was a special night for Roman Josi as he led the team with 2 goals scored and was joined by Jonathan Marchessault and Steven Stamkos, who each had a goal. Yusei Saros looked like Patrick Waugh with a .958 save percentage and just 1 goal allowed in a 4-1 Nashville win. Jace, what kind of statement do you think this was by the Predators?
Another piece of the roller coaster season for the Preds. They go out and dismantle the best team in the NHL 4-1, coming off of a loss 3-0 to the Kraken. And then it's just a roller coaster. They go loss, win every game since they played Calgary. It's loss, win. So you never know with this team. They go out and do this, go out and lose 3-0 to Seattle before. You just never know with this team. But they go out and play great. They get 2 goals from Josi, Marchessault, and Stamkos also get goals. And it's a great night for Nashville there.
I don't know what to make of this team, guys. It's like, like Jay said, you go out there, you score 4 goals, and you beat the best team in the league, and then the next game you'll probably get a big fat 0. Next game probably 2 goals, and you might lose, might win, and you'll go on a 2 or 3 game win streak. I don't understand this team whatsoever. I mean, they've got to put it together. I mean, but can they at this point in the season?
I don't know. It's just like every week we come on this show and it's either, oh, they won by a lot, or oh my gosh, they got absolutely killed. So I really don't know what to make of this team, but I will say this, Stamkos is looking better and better with the power play, and to score 3 goals in the 3rd period, really impressive. So good stuff, Preds. Both Nashville teams deserve a little extra gravy for Thanksgiving after those wins. When we come back, we've got turducken-sized hot takes for our Thanksgiving episode that you won't want to miss. Find out what they are when we return on Sportsballin.
Serving the nation's poor and vulnerable regardless of faith, and advocating on their behalf, we are Catholic Charities.
Your Marine Corps' way of life is to defend the American way of life. Every day, we take a stand for our nation, for each other, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Miss Lee, this is Agent Williams from the tax office. Our records show an unpaid balance on your account. If you don't pay by end of day, you'll be facing jail time. Well, the fastest way to fix this is with a prepaid debit card. Can you go get one now? Yes, and we want to clear this up. If you just buy that prepaid card, put $400 on it, then call me back and read the numbers to me.
The moment they ask for a prepaid card is the moment you know something's wrong. Think before you send money. Learn more at scamawareness.org.
It started with the original care package, and millions more like it. Passed from hand to hand, across land and sea, to help survivors in the aftermath of war. As we grew, we found better ways to help those in need. Ways to make a real difference. Not just today, but tomorrow as well. Be the difference in people's lives. Help deliver lasting change at care.org.
Some places have the power to transform us, connect us, move us. This is the power of place. The power of parks and open spaces to improve cities, communities, and ourselves. This is the work of the Trust for Public Land, putting open space within reach of every person in America. Help us create the power of place and healthier, happier communities nationwide.
We've got Thanksgiving hot takes fresh out of the oven. Now, Jay, start us off with our hot take feast.
I'm going to start it off first, and it's going to be 3 ACC teams are going to get into the college football playoff.
Love this.
Going to go Miami, SMU, and it's going to be Miami, SMU, Clemson.
Yes.
Clemson.
Don't forget the Tigers.
Now, for Clemson, it's going to start off first. It's going to be a win over South Carolina this weekend. I think that can make up for the loss to Louisville earlier in the season, right there.
That's a good win if they get it.
Go there. So that gets Miami into the ACC title game to play SMU.
Yes.
They're going to play each other close. It's going to be a competitive game down to the wire. Let's say SMU wins on a walk-off field goal. And then we go there. I think that that Miami and Clemson get at-large bids over any 3-loss SEC team. And I think that can go into a point right there. And SMU, of course, gets the auto bid.
Right.
3 ACC teams are going to make it into the CFP despite all the odds and predictions of a 3-loss SEC team getting in. I go 3 ACC teams.
Absolutely not. First off, that's going to be debunked whenever the Clemson Tigers lose to the Gamecocks this weekend. And then I think your Miami Hurricanes win by 7 to 10 points for their foul.
I appreciate that.
Over SMU, knocking them out of the playoffs. So I don't think it's going to happen.
The first thing is for Miami, they have to take care of the Fruit Newhouse School of Syracuse.
The Fruit Newhouse School.
Oh, no.
The Fruit.
He's got to play Kyle McCord.
They got to play Otto the
Mr.
Orange.
Pick Six himself, Kyle McCord. Now, I like this take. I really do. But there's one caveat to this. There's no way Clemson's going to beat South Carolina. There's no way that's going to happen.
Yep.
South Carolina is a much better team. I've been calling Clemson a fraud all year long. We saw what happened against Louisville. If you're telling me that team's going on to play South Carolina, there is no chance in heck they're going to go out there and beat the Gamecocks. Now, I'd love to hear an argument to the contrary.
I mean, South Carolina's red hot right now, so I mean,
yeah.
You can argue
so
for
that goes towards his argument.
But I'm thinking Clemson's going to be home field advantage. They'll storm the field regardless of how the game ends. But I'll take Clemson and the Fighting Dabo Swinney's and Cade Klubnik. I think that they're going to exploit something in South Carolina and get the win.
Wow. On that note, Connor, what's your hot take?
It completely contradicts what Jace said, and it's kind of ironic that he went first. I say that a 3-loss SEC team makes the playoff, either Ole Miss, South Carolina, or Alabama. And you think about it, Ole Miss, it's kind of like not too realistic, but in college football, anything can happen. Alabama is projected to be the first team out. Carolina is the 3rd team out. All you need is a couple upsets, which we saw last week.
Yes.
Definitely not out of the realm of possibility. So here's some upsets I think could definitely happen that could go into helping my cause. I think Syracuse could beat Miami, Cal could beat SMU, USC beats Notre Dame, and Tennessee beats Vanderbilt.
Wouldn't it be the other way around?
Yeah.
That's a lot of things that would have to happen, though.
Yeah. I think it happens, though, honestly.
Jace, I'll let you go first on this one.
Vandy's not beating Tennessee. We saw this a couple years ago. Tennessee was 9-2 coming off the loss to South Carolina. Vandy was fighting for bowl eligibility then, and Tennessee beat them 56-7. Now Tennessee had Joe Milton.
That's a much different.
And Joe Milton was way better. Joe Milton was way better than Nico is right now, but Nico's a freshman, and it's going to be 99% orange in that building.
Ooh, that. First-hand experience, buddy.
And Vandy's lost some luster going into the end of the season.
A little bit.
And another 3-loss SEC team's getting in. Bama needs a lot to happen. Ole Miss is.
They really don't, though.
They're going to be behind Clemson in the CFP rankings tonight.
And it won't matter whenever South Carolina beats them. So let's just say this. You guys don't want to admit it. I even think that it's not warranted and that it's kind of BS if it happens.
Yeah.
But Bama's going to be the first team out this week.
Unfortunately, yes.
And an upset's going to happen, and a team's going to slide in.
And Bama will get in. Yes, they will. And that kind of leads into my point, because as much as I hate to say it, the committee loves Alabama.
Yep.
They're a brand name. They shouldn't be in. When you lose 24-3 to Oklahoma, of all teams, that should automatically disqualify you from any discussion.
I agree.
But the committee is kind of left with no choice. And this is the one caveat about expanding the college football playoff. It rewards mediocrity and it rewards bad play. Alabama does not deserve it. I do think that if Clemson beat South Carolina, they would get in over Alabama. But I don't see that happening. Bama's going to be right there to pounce. Honestly, I think Ole Miss would be better than Alabama to take that spot, but that's just me. I think Alabama's had a worse loss and has had a worse track record. I like Ole Miss's ceiling more than Alabama's, personally.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
go ahead.
Go ahead. Ole Miss has worse losses. I mean, at home to Kentucky.
They do.
And LSU, who's fallen off the rails.
But they destroyed Georgia.
Yeah, they did.
That's the one thing that they're clinging to. It's kind of like Alabama. That's what they're clinging and a win over South Carolina.
Most ranked wins in the country.
There is that, but it's like South Carolina and Georgia back in September. And then you lose by 21 to Oklahoma. And
ain't no love in Oklahoma.
Ain't no love in Oklahoma.
There was no love in Oklahoma.
The wagon did not tip over, and they got destroyed. So I think that they should fall behind. I think the rankings, if it's 10, 11, 12, going to go in this order. Indiana 10, Clemson 11, Alabama 12.
Clemson's not jumping Alabama first off.
should.
And even if they do, South Carolina's going to take care of business. So I do agree with you, though. I trust an actual quarterback over a running back.
Yes.
Taking snaps. So I would think Ole Miss is a better team, personally.
No disrespect to Jalen Milroe, but he's kind of a glorified running back. Now, Tom Brady, he's the luckiest player in sports history. He's the luckiest man in sports history. So listen, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I'm a Tom Brady hater. I'm not going to be shy about it. And this is kind of a bucket list hot take that I've always wanted to do. So here's my chance to show you why Tom Brady has been bailed out over and over again and doesn't deserve the credit that sometimes he's given. Now, first up, the Tuck Rule game in 2001. That was not a fumble. You know it wasn't a fumble. You know it wasn't a fumble. And I know it wasn't a fumble. It wasn't a fumble. Now, the AFC Championship game in 2001, he scored 0 points in that game, and his team still won in spite of him. In 2006 against the Chargers, Marlon McCree has the game-winning interception. All he's got to do is go down, and he fumbles the football. What a brainiac move that was. Now, he should have lost as well the 2011 AFC Championship game. What happens? Lee Evans can't catch him. Billy Cundiff on your screen misses the field goal. Great work, Billy. Appreciate it. Thanks for giving Tom Brady another Super Bowl. Thank you. And he also only won the Super Bowl against the Seahawks because of that man, Malcolm Butler. Again, Malcolm Butler bailing out Tom Brady at the last second. And also, the Falcons blow a 28-3 lead against him in the Super Bowl. How in the world does that happen? And then you and I had to experience this one. In the 2020 NFC Championship game, this dude throws 3 interceptions in a row, and he still wins the football game. How can we, this is just repeated over and over. I didn't even scratch the surface. This man is just lucky. There's no way around it.
First off, there's no way and you know where that you're saying the 28-3 game is luck. That man.
Not completely, but the Falcons did Falcon.
The Falcons did Falcon. You also can't only give it to Malcolm Butler, blame Pete Carroll for not running the football.
Sure, but why does it keep
Brady,
happening though?
Because Tom Brady, even whenever things go like nowhere near his way, he finds a way to get it done, which is why he's the greatest player of all time. That man, he just gets it done. Like, it's impossible to beat that man.
Yeah, I mean, it's right, he's the greatest of all time in football right there. He gets it done in the clutch moments, as you saw in the Super Bowl against the Falcons.
Yeah.
And even then, I mean, got lucky there in the Tuck Rule, made a whole rule for him there. But
that's the only lucky play.
That's like really the only lucky play you can go to other than the Ravens giving that game away. And just teams giving the game away. I think the moment getting too big and Brady not letting it get to him, I think he's the undisputed GOAT.
Why do teams just inexplicably give up the game against Tom Brady? They don't do this against other players. They never did that against Aaron Rodgers. You and I both know that. They would pull off the most inexplicable stuff to win games, like the Cardinals and Larry Fitzgerald in that awful defense, or the Seahawks coming back from it and getting an onside kick in the NFC Championship game. That never happened to Brady. It was just rotten luck for us, and apparently Brady's got a golden horseshoe. So thanks, Tom. Great stuff as always, gentlemen. When we come back, saddle up as we give our final picks of the week for the Thanksgiving edition. That's coming up right after this.
There are a lot of words I would use to describe my daughter. Kind, strong, hilarious. When I think about how much she's experienced in her life, we can't help but be inspired by her every day. So really, we're the lucky ones. Learn more at adoptuskids.org.
Hi, I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you prevent wildfires.
Dude, I've got this. I've been camping since I was 5 years old.
But I am a camping influencer.
You know what? I'll bet you $5. Okay. Assistant Smokey, what is the best way to put out a campfire?
To put out a campfire, drown with water, stir, drown again. Then make sure the fire is out cold by feeling with the back of your hand.
Wait, really?
I'll take the $5.
Attacks against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders are on the rise.
My simple solution to the problem was remove people from the scene and help them feel safer. In terms of the hate crimes, I think there is so much more work to be done. We really need to come together and tackle this issue as a community.
If you love them enough to suck the snot out of their nose at 4 a.m., then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Welcome back to Sportsballin. Let's get into our picks of the week. We will start with the Nashville Predators versus the Philadelphia Flyers Wednesday at 7.
I'll go with the Preds to get the win. And that's only because of the just roller coaster season. It's win-loss, win-loss, win-loss. They lost, or they're on the brink of losing yesterday to New Jersey,
right,
and get the win over the Winnipeg, the Jets before that. So I'll go with the Preds to get the win over the Flyers.
Philly. Go Flyers.
Go Flyers. Wow, what a Preds trader we got here. You know what? I'm going to take the Preds. I'm going to be optimistic. Nashville wins. Next up, Grizzlies versus Pistons Wednesday at 7.
I'll go with Memphis. I think they'll continue to grow and develop without John Edey, and they're going to continue to get the growth out of those pieces. I'll take Memphis.
This is a matchup last year. If you said this was like a really good top matchup, people would laugh at you. But it is. John's back for this game. Give me Memphis. They roll.
I can't believe the ultimate meme team from a year ago, the Detroit Pistons, is now somewhat of a contender in the Eastern Conference. Boy, it's a bad conference. But give me the Grizzlies to win that game. And finally, Titans versus Commanders Sunday at noon.
Surprisingly, I'll take the Titans. The Commanders are trending in the wrong direction. Wow. They've lost 3 in a row. I'll take the Titans.
My Pookie Jaden Daniels plays on the Commanders. Go Commanders.
I think the Commanders win this one easily and put a stop to their losing streak. But we've got to put down our forks and clean our plates because this meal is over. If you want more of that sports ball and goodness, make sure to check out Blue Raider Television for new episodes every week. For Connor Smith and Jace Vincent, I'm Dylan Simmons saying so long, and remember to always have an electric night.